Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Woo, the place where we talk about the magical side of life with everyday people. I'm Amy from Cultivating Silence, and my guest today is Derek States. Derek is a voiceover actor. I would call him a master carpenter, and I believe that he has dabbled in exploring the paranormal. And if I got that wrong, he'll correct me. But first, let's just welcome Derek. Hi, Derek. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you about a little bit of maybe ghost hunting, I think. Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And or other
I've
experiences that you've had. Yeah.
yeah. Story-wise, ghost hunting is always a fun one to go into for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
But,
But
life's
first,
full of wild stuff.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Life's full of wild experiences.
I agree. That's part of the reason to do this show because of that. Yeah. And first I'd love to ask you, I like to ask everybody, what is your definition of the woo?
I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if I have a fully concrete answer for what I think, but generally somewhere in the realm of an experience, not a thing, that is unexplainable in some way.
Okay.
Or, maybe you have an idea of an explanation. Like it falls into a realm of X or Y, but you don't really know for sure what is going on.
Okay. Great. And so, whatever comes to mind first, whatever you'd like to share with us for your experiences in this realm.
Yeah. We've talked a bit before about it too, but for me, I'm a little skeptical on all the experiences. You
Right.
know, I don't necessarily throw them into the category of the woo, of the other, of unexplainable or weird. Um, and I always try to think of what could actually cause it, or in a more realistic physical sense, what happened. Whether or not that's always right, that's just where I go first, just to narrow things down and try to figure it out. Probably one of the earliest things that happened to me was, I think I was 7 years old. We were all coming back from camping one summer, riding home in the motorhome. I was passed out asleep at the little kitchen table that they have. And my dad was driving. He didn't want me to fall out of the table, or, fall off of the table, slide out onto the floor. So he moved me up to the passenger seat, just, so I'd be in an actual kind of bucketed seat a little bit. And we're driving along pretty close to home. And he turns a corner, and then he hears a noise, looks over, and I'm not there anymore. And I had just slid right out of that motorhome onto the road. Yeah, luckily for me, I didn't remember anything. I was asleep. But I didn't even gain consciousness until I don't know how much later. But I was already standing up. Police, ambulance workers were around me. They were mid conversation with me. And that's when I gained consciousness. But the weird part, or potentially unknown part, is right after I landed, or pretty soon after I landed and tumbled. Like I said, it was right around a corner, so you know, visibility isn't great. People are coming around. I could have easily been hit. Out of
Absolutely.
nowhere, this lady comes up, pulls her car sideways in front of me to block traffic.
Wow.
Um, which, again, Good Samaritan, guardian angel, whatever. Because then before anyone, my dad doesn't know her name. No one knows who she was, because at some point when things were kind of handled, I guess, she just disappeared, left.
I'm a
And
little stunned. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
and especially growing up in a religious family on that side of my family, it's
Hmm.
always, the guardian angel saved me from getting run over by a dozen different cars that could have come by.
So that's how your family framed that experience. They would tell that story as if that really was a guardian angel for you.
At least potentially, yeah.
But your family, that's the way they told that story.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. And I think skepticism is really important. And so you've already shared you like to be somewhat skeptical. Where do you sit now in your life when you look back at that story? Where do you hold the belief?
It's tough to say. Without being a third party and watching the whole thing happen, you never know what something actually is. Whether just direct guardian angel, whether it, you know, heavenly interactions that made this random woman, happen to see me instead of run through me herself,
Right?
or,
Right.
just random lady that happened to be nearby.
Yeah. So I like this also because so many things have happened for me. So many things have happened for many people and that I know and that, maybe I would interview on the show. I guess I would say maybe not everybody experiences a lot of these things in their life, but I think everybody if you live long enough, you're going to have at least one of these experiences. And my whole point, this is a long way of getting to my point, sorry, is that I think it's really important to not have to have a definition or a concrete understanding of what that was. It's okay. First of all, it's okay to be skeptical. I think that's really important. And it's okay not to know. Like, yeah, I had
Oh,
this,
yeah.
I would call woo experience, but I don't really know what it was. Would you
Oh,
agree?
yeah. Life's full of mysteries. You're never going to know everything that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's strange or not, you're just never going to know why everything happens, why people do what they do, why
Yeah.
things happen around you.
And if I can ask you, Derek, it just brings to mind, I'm just wondering, how do you handle those things, those times that I just don't know, or I just can't, I can't control that person. I don't know what just happened. How do you, you
Hmm.
know, get through that kind of a thing?
I think largely just not letting myself get stuck on it, because I know, is it Schadenfreude? You know, understanding that everyone else has their own life and their own things going on.
Mhm.
Um, so I know that people just have something happening that day that made them in a bad mood, or you never know why, and spending mental effort on trying to know why is good for learning and trying to diagnose a situation and the life around you, but you're not going to know 100%. So I just don't really stress about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. And in the work that I do, I would put that in the category of not taking things personally. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And also looking in the future.
What do you
A
mean?
week from a week from now, am I going to remember what that random person said? No, so I don't care.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's a great way to frame it as you're trying to live your life. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Good.
There's too much of my own stuff going on to worry about other people's to a deep degree.
That's great. Very good. Yeah, I agree. So, do you have any other personal woo experiences and or of course I want you to share some of your, if I can call it ghost hunting experiences, wherever you want to go, whatever
Yeah.
you can share.
Uh well, a couple that happened before the ghost hunting, paranormal investigating, again, whatever title you want
Yeah,
to give it.
yeah,
Um I thought of one recently that was an interesting experience because it was the first time it had happened to me, maybe the only time to this level of direct clarity. Um and it's just a different field. I had a dream. So I'll step back. Um, Again, I was pretty young at the time. I was over at my dad's, and his computer was one, you don't really see the style as much anymore, but it had the front panel that would open up and that would give you access to the CD tray and the power button and all that. But it had a lock on it, like a lot of them did at that time. Um, Somehow or another, I locked it and then shut the panel, but he had no idea where the key was. So we were both just like, oh, well, we don't know what to do now. Um, and, whatever went through the day. And then that night, I had a dream because we had fought with it for a while trying to figure it out. Had a dream where I just went over and opened it up. So then I woke up, I went over to the computer and just opened it up because it wasn't actually locked or something. I guess we just thought
Wow.
it was.
Hmm.
So, nothing big and grandeur and wild, but it it was just an interesting experience. And, I don't know where I sit with dreams totally,
Okay. Hmm.
whether it's, the brain just solving problems or just the random chemicals as you fall asleep, everything's just firing off and making you come up with wild experiences.
Sure. So
But it was neat.
yeah, very neat. And I would definitely call that a woo experience. I want to ask, did you and your father, when you did whatever it was you did, however you described that, did you and your father actually try to open it, or did you just assume, boom, boom, it's locked, we got to go find the key? Or did you try to open it?
I can't say for certain. I was maybe 10.
Wow.
So it's been a while.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like we would have tried to just open it back up and not just assumed it auto locked,
right. Okay. Okay.
but I don't know. Maybe we did, and through everything else, it kind of jiggled unlocked because they're not complex
Right.
locking mechanisms. It's just a turning latch.
Right.
Um, so yeah, maybe we did and we jiggled it loose.
Mhm.
Maybe we just didn't do the obvious thing,
Maybe. Yeah.
but we were stumped either way.
Yeah, and I love that you had the dream and then you went and did it. I mean, to me, yes, there are many different definitions, explanations of what dreams are, how they work, why we have them. But I truly believe that sometimes we have dreams that teach us things, that reveal things like, no, by the way, it's not locked, and dreams that are premonitions of things that, may happen in the future. I think all of those things are real, even though I would advocate for skepticism about any particular experience. But I love that dream. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'd love if I could just always have a problem and just literally sleep on it and have it solved in the morning.
Wouldn't that be
So,
great? Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah. I also believe, I never ask anybody to believe what I believe. So, throw this away if it makes no sense to you. But I truly do believe that we can kind of train ourselves at least a little bit. So you can train yourself to remember your dreams. I think you can even train yourself to maybe have a dream, like, just set a little intention, like, I'm working through this thing. Give me a little help in my dreams tonight. Now that might sound way too woo woo for people, but in my experience and in other people's experience, and I've had some teachers teach such things, that yeah, we can actually kind of train ourselves to solve a problem, maybe like you're talking about.
Yeah, I've definitely tried. Gone to sleep many times like, all right, keep this in my head and
Mhm.
hopefully it'll come up. It
Mhm.
never really does. I'm probably thinking about it too hard for that part of the
Maybe,
brain to work
maybe.
on it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it'd be a neat skill if it were something you could really train and hone in on. Like how some people can make themselves have lucid dreams,
yes.
at least often.
Yes. And that brings a nice point that I do believe some of these woo experiences that we have, if we move toward them and work with them a little bit, hopefully we find the right teachers and or we just find the right way to work with ourselves. I think they kind of can become skills if we work with them. Not always, and I don't think that's something that quote unquote should happen, but I think it's a potential.
Yeah. And again, there's so much about our own bodies we don't know.
I agree.
So, what is possible? We're still figuring it out.
Yep, I totally agree. Okay, Derek. So now, thank you for sharing both of those experiences. And now, if you would care to share any of the paranormal investigation experiences, I would love that.
Yeah. So, and just as a little background, it's been many years since I've actually done it, unfortunately. Um, so, a buddy and I, we used to, just watch all the paranormal shows and whatnot. And it was just a lot of fun, interesting, if true kind of stuff, and a good watch either way. But he knew someone that used to do paranormal investigating. And then we joined up with him and we got some things going and found some locations. But there's one in particular that we actually caught some potential audio evidence on.
Great. Hmm.
It was pretty interesting. So he was that third guy. He was working at a hotel, like night shift. So he was able to get us in like 3 days after some guy had killed himself in one of the rooms.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was, if you believe in the energy still lingering for a while, it
Mm.
was fresh. So, you
Right.
know, a better chance for capturing something.
Right.
But we went in there, like I said, about 3 days later. And the first bit we caught, I had turned one of our audio recorders on while we were still just setting up. We were just talking about what we knew about everything that happened and, whatever, just getting ready. And we didn't hear it while we were talking, but when I reviewed the audio, it almost sounded like someone really close to the mic, almost whispered, but kind of a loud whisper, said, "Hurry."
Wow.
And it was just the timing of it where we were just getting started. Like, was something trying to tell us to hurry and, get set up, or who knows what else?
Hmm.
It was just the timing made it interesting.
For sure. Do you remember? Did you hurry? Oh, no, because you didn't know what it was until afterwards.
Yeah. And it was still pretty early on in the day. So we were waiting for things to get a little darker. And again, just setting up. We weren't in a hurry for any reason.
Right. Right. And as you look back on it now, did anything occur that would have made sense that this voice would have said, "Hey, hurry up, get out of here"? I mean, I don't know if that's exactly what it was saying, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Unfortunately, nothing happened. It would be great if I could tie that word to an event.
Right, right.
Um,
Hmm.
but nothing, unfortunately, that
Hmm.
we were aware of, at least.
You never know. It could be fortunate that nothing else happened,
Uh,
And
that's true.
yeah,
I I mean, I always tell people that because I'm again highly skeptical with all the paranormal stuff, even though I did it and I was searching for stuff. I really wanted to have my camera out looking at something and be able to watch, I mean, camera or not, but be able to watch a brick come up off the ground and fly at my face.
whoa.
Because then I know that there is something else.
Yeah, you
Like,
want,
give me that very hard concrete brick evidence,
yes, yes.
and then I'll be satisfied. And then I'll just keep searching, but with being very resolute in my thoughts.
Hmm. And so in your explorations with these guys, you never got that strong of a concrete type of evidence?
No, unfortunately. We did get some more at that same location, though, which
Okay.
just kind of helps build up the potential credibility of something.
Sure. What else
Uh,
happened at that location?
yeah, so we were standing around asking questions, trying to get some sort of response for a while. This was, I don't know, a couple hours in probably.
Mhm.
And one of the guys asked, "How many people are in here with us?"
Whoa.
Asking, how many spirits or whatever. And once again, same kind of loud whisper near the mic. We didn't hear it at the time. We heard five when I reviewed the audio.
Hmm.
And that was interesting. One, once again, because it was so close that it seemed like a response to the
Hmm.
question. And
Okay.
also, there were the three investigators, me and the two guys, and then one of the guy's kids. So, number five potentially was whoever was talking to us.
Wow. Okay. And now, did your fellow investigators also very clearly hear the word five? Does everybody agree? Yeah, that sounds like five.
Yeah, when I showed it to him later,
Yeah. Wow.
everyone was just stoked. It was
Yeah.
a great moment.
Yeah, that sounds, I mean, if that had happened to me, I would be less skeptical of that. That almost feels like some real evidence that, oh, there's something going on here.
Oh yeah, it was at least motivating. Like finding even a maybe is huge
Yeah.
because for anyone that doesn't know, you know, TV shows and stuff make everything look exciting and like stuff's always happening in the half hour, 45-minute show you watch.
Yeah.
You sit in a dark room by yourself talking to yourself for hours.
Yep.
And 99.9% of the time, assuming you ever capture anything, that 99.9 you're going to capture nothing. And
Right.
then you hope for that point one.
Right. Right. Well, that sounds like skill building in and of itself, just to be patient and quiet
Yeah.
and calm and grounded, to sit there and just be present and wait. That's a skill in and of itself, I would say.
Oh yeah. And then we always tried to start friendly because again, assuming something's there, our idea was you can always be friendly and then get aggressive if needed. You can't get aggressive and then try to be friendly.
That makes
You know,
sense. Yes.
people don't really respond to that very well.
And maybe need
Um,
ghosts.
yeah. So, we were doing that same kind of thing, just asking questions.
Mhm,
And after a while of not getting anything that we were aware of,
mhm,
uh, my buddy decides to escalate it a bit and he lays down on the bed where the guy was found
mhm.
and just asks, "Why'd you take the easy way out?"
Whoa. Not so
And
fun.
yeah, started to get a little
Yeah.
aggressive with it.
Yes. Hmm.
And once again, same kind of tone, whisper voice, and pretty much immediately after, so it seemed like a response, it sounded like the word easy. Like, you thought that was easy? Kind
Ah.
of a tone to it.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, so just between those three things, again, I can't remember the word for it, but it could be that there was just some sound that I'm pinning this paranormal voice to.
Okay. Hmm.
Um, but the fact that they were all, at least two of them seemed to be responses
Yeah.
um, that were potentially relevant to the questions or what was going on.
Right.
It That was probably the best paranormal experience I ever had,
Wow.
and just full of unknown.
Hmm. Hmm. And the those three experiences, did they all occur in the same setting? You might have said that and I missed it, so I apologize.
Yeah, those were all in that one hotel room
In
where the
in the
guy had,
same day, in the same sitting, the same
mm,
taping?
yeah,
Wow.
within a couple hours
Hmm.
of each other.
Hmm. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it wish we could have got more, but
Hmm.
life and other things get in the way, and
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to drop a hobby.
Yep. I love hobbies. I think hobbies are great. And yeah, with life, you have to be ready to shift and change and go with the flow.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun one. So one last thing that happened recently, um, like within the last week, sort of, um, is more in the realm of synchronicity, which a whole other spectrum of woo in
Sure.
itself. Um, so I've told you recently before, but I'm considering quitting my job at the end of the year and going full time voice acting,
That's
which
great.
I've been working towards for a long time.
Right.
Um, I this wouldn't be doing it in the way that I expected, not as secure as I was aiming for, but I think it might be time.
Okay.
Um, and it was interesting how many little things have kind of lined up that just lean into supporting that.
Nice.
Uh,
Hmm.
so I have a nest egg built up just so I can support myself for a little while
Great.
I build up the career and get more regular work. Um, but a couple of months ago, I got a kickback check from my school that shut down because I went to ITT and there have been legal stuff going on for years.
Wow. Okay.
So I got a decent little check back for, you know, however much of the payment they decided to refund or whatever they did. I don't
Right.
know the details. I just know I got money and I'm happy with it.
Very good.
But so I got that back and that was just cool. Like I said, 2, 3 months ago or whatever. And then I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting that one. But last week, maybe, I got another check about the same size.
Wow.
Same thing. They were refunding, I don't know if it was more recent payments or whatever it was.
From the same
So,
school, from the same situation, just more
yeah,
money.
exactly.
Wow.
So, again, I don't know the details. I'm not going to complain. But between the two of them, that helped set me up financially further to give me more of a buffer window.
That's beautiful.
But tied into that, uh, I've been wanting to get back into doing improv again, just to help improve my character work and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a blast,
Mm-hmm.
as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw someone I knew from improv post something recently. They were going to do a live script reading of a movie, just a fun thing
Yeah.
next week, actually, that I'm thinking of doing.
Oh, that's great.
So just getting into that and building my career further by doing more creative activities like that.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Because right now it's hard juggling voice acting career, day job, remodel, life, and
Yes.
everything else.
The remodeling
And
part is why I say that Derek is a master carpenter because he's remodeling and doing it all himself, his entire home.
a, a master YouTube watcher.
Okay.
I, I
It
can get the
helps.
job done most of the time. Yeah, it's
Great.
gotten me far.
Great.
Um, but yeah, so I haven't been able to do a lot because a lot of the improv stuff kind of happens later. And I wake up at 5 in the morning for work, so
Great.
I
Right.
can't do much.
Yeah.
But an opportunity like that coming up where it's not only improv, I don't know how much improv will be in there since it's off of a script,
Right.
but
Right.
uh, just a fun thing getting on stage, collaborating again,
For sure.
something I haven't been able to do nearly as much as I want.
Yeah.
So that opportunity coming up and kind of showing me what's out there again and just
That's,
reminding me.
yeah.
And oh, what was it? There was a third thing that happened.
It'll come
My
to you.
mind is blanking.
That's okay.
Um, oh,
Mhm.
yesterday, running into an old friend that I haven't seen in 5.5 years.
Wow.
5.5 years.
Hmm.
someone that I met in improv, and we took classes and started the process of starting an improv team for a full year,
Wow.
and just all of these things kind of coming together, making the opportunity much more possible and viable, reminding me of what I can do and all the good stuff that came from it.
Beautiful.
And all of it kind of coming together right as I happen to be thinking about giving myself creative time and energy again.
This is wonderful, Derek. I'm glad you're sharing this story as well because, again, this is my belief. Nobody else has to believe what I believe, but I do believe that when we move toward the things that we are passionate about, and when we take those risks to do that, that's sometimes when we start experiencing, oh, there's some support I didn't expect, there's a synchronicity, and there's a little bit of an encouragement because of I bumped into that person. And it's kind of like the universe, or whatever you want to call the woo, is kind of saying, yeah, okay, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And, in this too, just as in the paranormal investigating and everything else, I'm there's a level of skepticism towards synchronicities because I believe there's at least a fair portion of it that is because you were thinking about it, you were just
Yes.
open to seeing the opportunities and seeing the similarities and synchronicities.
Right.
But whether it's just coincidence, just that these things happen to line up, that I happen to connect the dots,
Mhm.
whether or not they were meant to be connected,
Mhm.
or if there is, a force kind of making it all come together and making me lean towards such a decision.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always say, balance in everything. So a little skepticism, a little curiosity about the woo,
Yeah.
letting, and as you said before, and we even kind of wrapped up already and said, the ability to hang, to rest in the not knowing. Like, well, it might be, maybe I should be skeptical, maybe, I'm not sure. But connecting
Maybe.
those dots, being curious, following your passions, and letting life every once in a while maybe give you a little support. That's pretty
Uh,
cool.
yeah. It and I've just gotten to a point where I've been working at this long enough
Hmm.
that, we have one life. While I have an opportunity to push for the thing I really want to do, I have to take it.
Good for you. I love that. I and
It might crash and burn, but at least 50 years from now, I can say I tried it.
That is so beautiful, Derek. Thank you for saying that. And I think that's a really good place to wrap up on. Just, everybody take some encouragement from what Derek's doing, following his passion, taking that risk. And yeah, yeah, balance though, he's got a
Yeah.
little nest egg, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm all for I love making bad decisions because they make great stories.
Yes, for
I
sure.
I I love a level of risk,
Yeah,
but when it's deep financial risk, especially, I like being able to pay for food. I
exactly.
like having a
Exactly.
house and water.
Yes.
So it's a big risk, but
Mhm.
it's a calculated risk.
That's
And
that's right.
even if it all fails, I'll have enough time where I can find a job again if I need to, or
Beautiful.
make another step somewhere else.
So we could call it a responsible risk.
Yes,
Yeah,
sounds good.
yeah, very good. All right. Again, thank you, Derek. Thanks for sharing all of your woo experiences and how you feel and think about them. I think it's really helpful for people who are bumping into the woo to hear about other people's experiences. So thank you
Yes.
again. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Everyday Woo. Bye bye.